Top of 1552 Las Vegas, thanks. Just give way the company there, pass right to left, and taxi 2, only one right.
Southwest 1280, Major 170 knots, full greater info, reeling, contact tower, 119er, Fort Niner.
170 great info, Freeman, thanks for the house stuff.
941, Evo 2-1. Chalice, all players, Fiesta, Chucky, Killer 2-1, Chalice. Evo is elevator door, block 2527.
2, bandits on you, Aces 5-2, press.
Aces 5-2 engaged. Only in those blocks, ball 1-1, no push. Altimeter 2971.
Greedy 3-1 flight where our weather backup is RTV.
Block, you have the 19 to 21 block, correct?
Insert circle entry on time.
So if you only have the 19 block to push in,
Whether you're a newcomer to air-to-air combat or a seasoned pilot, mastering BVR is the key to survival and success in the ever-changing modern aerial battlefield. Both full sims like DCS or arcade flight sims such as War Thunder, of which we only really play the former. Either way, you'll find that beyond visual range combat is something you'll find yourself having to tackle often. In today's demonstration, we have my good friends Cookie and Noodle alongside myself showing what a standard commit timeline can look like, along with TAC C2 comms to go along with examples in order to show off all the aspects of commit and not just what the fighters do. Timelines are simple in theory yet complex in practice, I find, as having to make sure a full flight of jets is seeing and understanding the same information and interpreting it in a way that makes sense to the fight is often the part that I find we have to talk about the most when discussing tactics after a flight. This video is a more advanced tutorial than just locking and firing weapons on a particular jet, and the tactics shown pair well with a decent understanding of radio comms and TAC form maneuvers, which will not be covered in depth here today, and neither will things such as data link or specific systems to any one particular jet. Of course, our group mainly flies the F-16 Viper in DCS, and some of our SOPs are built around that plane in particular. However, a timeline usually should look mostly the same, although there are a few general factors that can sometimes affect certain metrics of a commit, such as radar range, aircraft speed, weapon employment range, hostile MAR, high altitude maneuverability of the aircraft, things of that nature. Our comrades who fly aircraft like the Strike Eagle and Tomcat knows this best, as a Tomcat maneuvering for a Phoenix shot at 80 miles is going to have a completely different timeline compared to the Viper. By the end of this video, if you want to deep dive this further, I'd highly recommend looking into the Ops Center by Mike Soliami. He's another great channel that breaks down and does tactics videos that are very similar to this and goes way more in depth on some of the concepts covered here today.
Climb, maintain flight level 220. 030, flight level 220, Satan 6, and a request to put final altitude 260.
The first step is understanding terminology and when to use it. There's a certain group of phrases and actions happening in a very specific order during a timeline. You'll typically see them happen the same way every time, and we'll show examples later down the line of exactly how that's going to look. It's not everything, but this is the basics, and this will get you set up for success if you want to deep dive down this rabbit hole. Starting out, we have yardstick. It's a really helpful way for an aircraft to keep formation at a distance and easily tell how far apart planes are, as well as providing cues for certain flight maneuvers. Now, this uses onboard TACAN of an aircraft, and the term yardstick refers to the ranging function of an air-to-air TACAN, which is given in slant range. We use this to hold 1 mile, and more commonly for us, 5-mile wall TAC form for our engagements, as holding either of those visually would be significantly harder using the Mark I eyeballs and guesswork. Okay, so slant range. I mentioned it in passing in the last definition, and I'm not one to leave a Chekhov's gun unshot, so now I'm going to define slant range. Imagine, if you will, standing on the ground looking at an airplane in the sky and wondering, how far away is that? Well, the measurement is slant range. It's the straight line distance between you standing on the ground and that plane in the sky, or the distance between 2 points or 2 objects. And it won't account for altitude or ground distance. It doesn't take that into account. It's just a pure measure of distance for objects on different elevations, and you'll find it's a common way to measure things in aviation. Yardstick, radar, and laser ranging all work with slant range. Now, it's important to understand this when trying to hold formation, as being at 5 miles from the lead plane doesn't exactly always mean you're where you're supposed to be. You could be behind him, in front of him, diagonal to him, but if you're at 5 miles, yeah, you're at 5 miles. Does that mean you're in place? No, not necessarily. Group is a core word in BVR combat comms, and it's a part of the basic phraseology, the most basic of the phraseology in calling out and identifying contacts. In aviation, the definition is a little funny because a group in this instance can mean 1 or more objects, which has caused many an argument between myself and friends who prefer the Merriam-Webster version. In BVR, a group is a word used to describe air or surface targets within 3 nautical miles slant range of each other. There's slant range again. When making targeting and sorting calls, you'll call a target by its label, which always ends with the word group. And don't let Cookie here screw it up or he'll kick your ass. Commit's the typical call made when beginning the first phase of an aerial intercept, whether it be a directive from the controller or your flight lead, meaning the flight will be maneuvering to intercept or employ weapons on a detected set of groups. Now, this will also cue the C2 to make a picture call. Typically, when committing, the call will sound something like this.
Satan's commit 050.
Knowing what groups are, we can now talk about how controllers create picture calls with them. Pictures are part of BVR comms, where the C2 will provide situational awareness for all the jets involved by calling out groups' positions and usually each group's association with one another, which can sometimes be called traditional labels. The picture calls most commonly reference bullseye, as that's a fixed point on the battlefield shared by a majority, or all, in most cases, of the jets in a theater, and allows those aircraft to quickly find enemy contacts, as they all share this reference point. And giving group positions in BRA would only serve to enhance the situational awareness of one specific aircraft that's being used for reference. Group labels are almost always, in my experience, made with the direction of the flight in mind. If a fight is east to west, the groups will be labeled from north to south. This is what a picture call can sound like.
Showtime 4 groups. Group bullseye 192 at 96, 12,000 hostile at 2 contacts. Group bullseye 204 at 97, 22,000 hostile at 2 contacts. Group bullseye 208 at 70, 23,000 hostile heavy 3 contacts. Group bullseye 192 is 67, 41,000 hostile high 2 contacts fast.
Now, talking a bit more about some of those traditional labels I mentioned before, we'll start by looking at a champagne, which is 3 groups separated by some distance in azimuth, which means horizontal separation, and range, which means some groups are further away than others. And in this particular case, a champagne refers to when there are 2 groups out front and 1 in the trail. On your radar, this will appear as an upside-down V. Now, the inverse of a champagne is a Vic, and that will appear as a regular V on your radar, and here's what a champagne will sound like in a picture call.
Showtime picture 3 group of Champagne, 10 wide, 8 deep, track north. West lead group bullseye 202, 68, 22,000, hostile 2 contacts. East lead group bullseye 175, 70, 23,000, hostile 2 contacts. Trail group bullseye 191, 84, 28,000, hostile 2 contacts, flanker.
Another traditional label we might see is a multi-group wall, which refers to targets in a wall on your radar display, and all the groups will be separated by azimuth only. There'll be no range factor to contend with in a wall, and the inverse of this is a ladder, which has no azimuth component. Typically, these picture calls are going to sound something like this.
Showtime picture 4 group wall, 40 wide, track north. West group bullseye 213, 68, 22,000, hostile 2 contacts, flanker. West middle group 26,000, hostile 2 contacts, fish bit. East middle group 29,000, hostile 2 contacts, fish bit. East group bullseye 164, 71, 22,000, hostile heavy 3 contacts, flanker. Showtime picture 3 group ladder, 20 deep, track north. Lead group bullseye 193, 45, 22,000, hostile 2 contacts, fish bed. Middle group 29,000, hostile 2 contacts, fish bed. Trail group bullseye 193, 82, 41,000, hostile 2 contacts, foxbat, high, fast.
This one's actually pretty easy. It's a box. It looks like a box in your radar, and it's a big square. Groups are separated by azimuth and range, and this is what a typical box picture is going to sound like.
Showtime picture 4 group box, 5 wide, 5 deep, track north. East lead group bullseye 190, 85, 22,000, hostile 2 contacts, fish bed. West lead group bullseye 204, 86, 23,000, hostile heavy 3 contacts, fish bed. West trail group 22,000, hostile 2 contacts. East trail group 29,000, hostile 2 contacts.
Leading edge picture. So these ones are some of the most complicated pictures as they reference multiple waves of enemies, but most controllers tend to give the most detail about the leading groups of these waves, which is why it's called a leading edge picture. This is what one typically sounds like, so try and follow along and see how well you can decipher the picture.
Showtime picture 7 groups leading edge, 2 groups azimuth 20. West group bullseye 136, 32, 29,000, track north, hostile 2 contacts, flanker. East group bullseye 091, 42, 22,000, hostile 2 contacts, fish bed. Second wave 20, 3 group Champagne.
So after the picture call is made, a flight will enter into the targeting phase of the timeline, where the flight will decide and call out on the radio which groups they will be taking responsibility for. Targeting doesn't always imply weapons will be fired, but it does mean that the plane calling targeted now has taken responsibility for the interception and possible employment of weapons upon their group. This also tells any aircraft paying attention on the radio that they should know not to turn in front of the hot fighters or maneuver to engage an already targeted group, as this would cause issues to the hot fighters. My group's SOP calls for us to make targeting calls starting with the least experienced members moving to the most experienced, so in order that would go 2, 4, 3, and then finally 1. This is what our targeting calls will typically sound like. Hitman 2's targeted East Group Strength 2. Moving on to skate. Skate's something you'll typically hear from the flight lead, letting the flight know what game plan to expect. Skates are directive to launch and then leave, as shown in the picture. It's the idea that which you will launch, guide the missile to its terminal phase, and then turn away from the bad guys, and away from danger. All the while holding some semblance of formation balance and mutual support between members of the flight. Most of the timelines we run are skate timelines, and skate timelines can be modified with either the words long or short, which tells the flight that they should change the range at which they expect to shoot the missiles based on the call. Bonsai is similar to skate up until the point where the launch is made. Bonsai is launch and decide instead of launch and leave. You can decide instead to maneuver with intent to press the fight into the visual arena, as well as decide to leave like a normal skate, depending on the situation.
Command 2, hard in Bonsai.
2. Hitman 2's targeted single group 2 ship. Correction, strength 2. Hitman 2's Fox 2 ship. Hitman 2's Pitbull 2 ship. Hitman 2's Pitbull 2 ship.
Hitman 1's naked.
2's naked.
Hitman in.
Hitman 2's timeout. Single group.
Hitman 1's Fox 3 single only, single group.
Hitman 2 tally splash. Single group.
Hitman out left.
The crank is the maneuver made after employing weapons on the target. The goal is to minimize closure on the target while still providing guidance to the weapon before its terminal phase. For us, this is typically done by dropping the nose 20 degrees and putting the targeted group on the gimbal limits of the aircraft's radar display. This keeps the jet's energy high while minimizing closure and keeping the target eliminated for the radar. This is what that looks like. Hitman 2's Fox 3 2 ship.
Hitman 1's Fox 3 2 ship west group. Hitman breakaway.
Exit. This is a call that can be made by any of the engaging fighters when they are within the hostile's MAR or have been engaged and fired upon by hostile forces, air or ground. It tells everyone involved in the commit that this fighter has been shot at or feels it is in danger and is defending the threat. When an exit call is made, it also conveys that the fighter will no longer be providing mutual support or holding formation with the flight. An out is a directive call at the end of a skate timeline. Flight lead will call an out, which tells the controller that the fighters are breaking engagement with the hostiles, and also serves to tell the flight to make a formation maneuver away from the bad guys. For us, this typically looks like putting in full burner and making an energy-sustaining turn in the opposite direction of which we flew in during the skate. Now, with our terminology out of the way, let's look at a full timeline put together, from start to finish, to give a good example of what one looks like. In the example here, we will be fighting a 3-group wall.
Picture 3-group wall, 14 wide, east group bullseye 18792. 22,000 hostile 2 contacts, fish bed. Middle group separation 6, 22,000 hostile 2 contacts, fish bed. West group bullseye 196 and 96, 22,000 hostile 2 contacts, fish bed. Recommend hitman commit. Hitman flight commit 1.0.
Hitman 2 is targeted East Group, Strength 2.
Hitman 1's targeted West group, strength 2.
Hitman 2, Fox 3 2 ship. Amen 2, Pit Police Group.
Amen out. Reference 330.
Amen 2's timeout, East Group.
Amen 1's timeout, West Group.